There is a story of an old farmer who had worked his crops for many years. One day his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit. "Such bad luck," they said sympathetically. "Maybe," the farmer replied. The next morning the horse returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. "How wonderful!" the neighbors exclaimed. "Maybe," replied the old man. The following day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, was thrown, and broke his leg. The neighbors again came to offer their sympathy for what they called his misfortune. "Maybe," answered the farmer. The day after, the young man was turned away from the draft into the army. Seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out. "Maybe," said the farmer. The lesson of the farmer is, of course, that no event in and of itself can truly be judged as good or bad, lucky or unlucky, fortunate or unfortunate. Only time can tell the whole story. The thinking goes that intentionally creating some mental space between what happened and what happens next, having a long view, keeps us from stressing too much about any one thing. It is part of the mindfulness that things, even life itself, comes and goes and still goes on, and that is certainly true. But there is something important here that is often overlooked. The farmer wasn't detached and indifferent. He didn't cultivate a "we'll see" attitude as a means to an end. He didn't keep an open mind to achieve better outcomes for himself. He wasn't trying to lower his blood pressure. This wasn't a pop psychology self-care hack. It was mindful peace with life. The farmer doesn't divide life into good events and bad events, like piles of laundry. He experiences life as one unified thing. For the farmer, this open-minded approach is not a strategy. It is the byproduct of what he was searching for and his ultimate realization to be at peace. A Zen master, Matsuo Basho, said, "Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought." If you are tired of overreacting emotionally to every red light or great parking space, the farmer's story might help. But it might be even better to point out the path the farmer walked. Right mindfulness traditionally is the 7th part of the Eightfold Path of Buddhism, but that doesn't mean it is 7th in importance. Each part of the path supports the other 7 parts, and so they should be thought of as connected in a circle or woven into a web rather than stacked in an order of progression. The Buddhist word for mindfulness can also mean retention, recollection, or alertness. The Catholic Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh says that right mindfulness is at the heart of Buddha's teaching. When right mindfulness is present, the 4 noble truths and the other 7 elements of the Eightfold Path are also present. To be mindful is to be fully present, not lost in daydreams, anticipation, indulgences, or worry. Mindfulness is a whole body and mind awareness of the present moment. It brings together our understanding of life as temporary and our desire to be truly present for all of life and to bring an end suffering in its many forms so that we can wear our t-shirts and hats that say, "Life is good." In Christian terms, we might call this passing the peace. We would say, "May peace be with you and also with you." And we would mean it. All that you have going on, good, bad, and mundane, may you know that peace that comes from understanding in all things you belong to God, and may you be mindful of that peace. Even if you are vacuuming the house and cleaning the toilet before family comes or after they leave, be mindful. This too is peace. Sure, it's a small piece, but even with that, you can be a blessed peacemaker. Be mindful that it flows from the same big peace that Jesus gifted to the world. Author Peter Kreeft writes that in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus commanded Peter to put up his sword and reminded him that those who live by the sword perish by the sword. Kreeft said, "The most just war ever fought in defense of the most just, most worthy, most innocent man and cause was also the shortest." Jesus stopped it before it started, apparently allowing it to start only to give his disciples and us an object lesson about his methods for ending it. After stopping the war, he healed its lone casualty, Malchus, whose ear had been cut off. Then, having made peace in his local and physical war, he went on to make peace in the universe, spiritual war, the war between humanity and God on Calvary. There too, he did not use force, but made peace in the most surprising way by dying. He drained away war himself like a sinkhole. As one with God, he made peace by making himself the universal victim of his own wrath, by suffering all the anger, violence, aggression, and frustration that was felt toward our blind, hardened hearts, and by doing nothing in return, by being meek as the slaughtered sheep. He was the meek who shall inherit the earth. By his meekness, he won the world. He humbled himself for us so that we might know how much he loved us. It is a strange story indeed, the strangest story ever told. Who wins by losing? Who triumphs by dying? Not only does he make peace in a strange way, it is also a strange peace. It is not just peace, but a peace that surpasses understanding. He gives it not as the world gives, because it is a different sort of peace. It is not the peace we expect. It is not a sort of comfortable niceness. Jesus was not a pushover. He was not a silly aunt or uncle. Jesus was a fire. He was a flame with righteousness. He demanded peace for all. Mary, his mother, said he would, and he did. From that ultimate peace comes a new peace in the world. Peace between countries and nations, persons and people. In our history, we have seen it abolish the way of barbarians, slavery, and snobbery. Once we are mindful of Christ's peace, we become fed up with anything less. But we must choose to accept and strongly demand that peace. God can't force it upon us, or else it would not be peace. It is the long way around, but it is the great physician's way. Deal with the root cause of the ailment, not just the symptoms. The patient has to participate in the plan for the healing the mind, body, and heart. Thomas Merton said, instead of loving what you think is peace, love other people as God loved all. And instead of hating the people you think are war makers, hate the appetites and the disorder in your own soul, which are the causes of war. If you love peace, then hate injustice, hate tyranny, hate greed, but hate these things in yourself first, not in another. Be mindful of what's in you. It's important to understand for this series that the Buddha did not teach about doctrines or a belief system. Rather, he taught people how to realize enlightenment themselves. And the way we realize enlightenment is through direct experience. Jesus taught in a similar fashion, Christ's peace is experienced. It was the church that canonized it and demonized any other way. Being mindful of this true way of Jesus is we experience peace directly with no mental filters or psychological barriers between us. What is experienced and what we long for others. So may you be mindful that Christ's peace is within you and Christ's peace will be with you. Amen.